Okay, hey guys and girls, I am just heading home from my last auction. So today there was a total of 18 auctions scheduled, and I conducted 14 of those 18. The 4 that didn't go ahead at auction were a combination of 2 sole priors and 2 cancelled. And that meant that with the 14 auctions that I did, I was successful in conducting, under auction conditions, 8 sold out of the 14. One of the questions a lot of people ask me is, how do you handle that many auctions when they're on site? Well, the first thing is, you got to do the work. What does that mean? You drive home at 7 o'clock at night on a Saturday night. That's the first thing. The second thing is, you start at 9 o'clock. The third thing is, you make sure that you've taken into account the Waze and the Google algorithm. And I've gone on, when I'm booking auctions, and gone into the go later function of Waze to see how long it will take me from one to the other. The third thing, that I ensure that, just block that off there, I have vendor conversations with vendors prior to the day. This is for the ones that want more information, the ones that want to speak to me, the ones that want to know when the vendor bid's going to be placed, where it's going to be placed, why I'll be placing it, the ones that want to ask me about my view of the marketplace. So what happens is, a lot of the conversations with a vendor, between the auctioneer and vendor, are not held on the day of the auction. They're held before. Then, of course, my approach to auctions. My approach is that the people that have come along don't want to hear you talk for 15 minutes about how good the property is. They've made up their mind. They're already stressed, right? They're unsure and anxious whether they're going to be the owner of that home in 5 minutes. They don't need a wedding MC, blah, 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 right? My approach is very straight talking. So what you actually find is, from the minute I introduce the property to the minute I get the first bid, it's not 10, 15 minutes. It's a few minutes. The next thing is, any client that's watching this video knows I'm working for a bid before we start the auction. So there's not this pause for 5 minutes before someone bids. I'm working the buyers before the auction starts. And that's a combination of a reasonable EQ that I've got, reading the play. It's also the fact that 35 years in this business, I know what needs to be said to what person at what time. And then, of course, there's the agent, the most important part in the puzzle. And the agent knows that if you're working with Tom Panos, I don't have vendors expecting to win the lottery. I don't have vendors that are coming in oblivious to what's been happening. And in this marketplace, we're talking about hyper vendor management. Don't pull out an RP data comparable sales from 3 months ago. I want the sales that have happened like in the last 3 days. I want our vendors to also understand, if they're selling, the good news is that in a market like we have right now, where there's been a bit of a price correction, you're correcting when you're selling, but you're also price correcting when you're buying. So you're actually in a revenue neutral position. This is the sort of stuff that I think is super critical as we move into 2022, when we start moving in from a market that is what I call being nuts to normal. Beautiful. From nuts to normal. That's what we're moving into in 2022. And I've got to tell you, to every person out there that believes that the market is on life support or it's dying. Absolute rubbish. You can't have the stats that I have today. I mean, we had properties that sold for $500,000 over reserve. Go look at the one in Strathfield that I showed on my Facebook at 6 o'clock tonight. You know, go look at that result. You can't get nearly $3 million in Greenacre for a house and say the market's on life support. I tell you what's on life support: real estate agents that are still working in the old market. Real estate agents who are using scripts and dialogues they were using during the incredible boom that we had during the lockdown. Real estate agents who actually were winging it. As Warren Buffett says, when the tide comes out, that's when you work out who's been swimming with their swimmers on and who's been swimming naked. Have a look at what you've been wearing. Guys, signing off. I'm going out to party.